90% of coffee lovers fail to brew a perfect cup of coffee, either at home or in a coffee shop, even when using the best quality of coffee brew equipment or the coffee beans. And this is because they are often overlooking one of the key factors that determines their taste of coffee when brewing, and this is coffee grind and the grind size. In this video, I would like to share with you why coffee grinding and the grind size is very important whenever you're brewing your cup of coffee. I'll also be sharing with you how coffee grind size affects your coffee extraction and how you can fix it. I'll be sharing with you the basics on the grind size and which brew method they are perfect for whenever you're brewing. Welcome to my channel. I'm the Barista. This channel is all about sharing coffee knowledge so that you can make a perfect cup of coffee. Today we'll be talking about the coffee grinding and the coffee grind size. This is very important whenever you're brewing your cup of coffee. But to understand why it's very important, let us first understand the coffee bean. When a coffee bean is being roasted, it produces carbon dioxide, which helps in the release of the coffee aromas and the flavors. After roasting our coffee bean, it's packed and sealed very well so that we don't lose the aromas and the flavor of the coffee bean. This is why it's more recommended every time that you're going to brew your cup of coffee, you need to grind your coffee beans fresh. This will give you the good aromas and the flavors from the coffee beans whenever you grind it fresh. So we will grind our coffee bean using the coffee grinder. There are so many coffee grinders on the market, but all the coffee grinders have the coarse grind size, which means the bigger particles of the coffee beans, and the fine grind size, meaning the smaller size of the coffee bean. In these grind sizes, we also have the fine to medium grind size, the medium grind size, and also the coarser to medium grind size, and the coarse grind size, and the extra coarse grind size. Each of these grind sizes has a brew method that it works best for. In this process of coffee grinding, the coffee bean is being broken down into smaller particles. This will help in the extraction of the coffee aromas and the flavor from the coffee bean into the cup. This is the basic grind size that's recommended for each brew method. We'll start with the fine grind size. The fine grind size has smaller particles, similar to the powdered sugar. It's more recommendable for espresso. When you're brewing an espresso, you need to apply pressure to extract the coffee flavors and the aroma from the coffee grinds into the cup. This will take a shorter period of time. That's why we use a fine grind size. The medium to fine grind size. This is perfect for the aeropress coffee maker. This is because of its particles. They are slightly bigger than the fine grind size. It's similar to that of a smooth sand. When you're brewing your coffee using the aeropress, you need to apply pressure, and it takes not a longer time to brew your aeropress. That's why the medium to fine grind size is perfect for the aeropress. The medium grind size, this is the most common grind size because it's perfect when you're brewing the V60s, Kalita, and also the siphon, and sometimes also used for the aeropress. Its texture is similar to that of sand, and when you're brewing these coffees, you're going to need 3 minutes or 4 minutes. This is because you only pour the water and it drips, making the medium grind size perfect whenever you're brewing these coffees. Medium to coarse grind size. This is perfect when you're brewing a Chemex. Its texture is similar to that of rough sand. We use this when we are brewing the Chemex coffee maker. The Chemex is similar to the V60, but the Chemex has a thick filter paper, which you will need to use a medium to coarser grind size so that you can extract the best cup of coffee of a Chemex coffee maker. The coarse grind size. This is perfect when you're brewing a frenchpress or doing a cupping session. This is because of its particles. It's similar to that of a sea salt. Whenever you're brewing a French press, you'll need to just grind your coffee, put it in your French press and pour in water and let it sit for a longer period of time, making the coarser grind size perfect to brew a French press and also a cupping session. The extra coarse grind size. This is perfect when you're making a cold brew. This is because of its particles. They are the biggest particles on a grinder. This is perfect when you're making a cold brew, because when you're making a cold brew, you just need to grind your coffee, soak it in water for 20 or 24 hours. making it the perfect grind size when you're making a cold brew. This helps the water to evenly circulate into the coffee grind. This gives you a perfect cup of cold brew. Using these grind sizes, these are the basic grind sizes recommendable to brew each of this brew method. When you're extracting your coffee, grind size, it will determine so much. So sometimes you'll need to adjust your grinder. Most of the times you'll come across a problem of under extraction or over extraction. Under extraction, this means you've grinded your coffee much coarser than the recommendable grind size for that brew method. When observing, you will see the coffee running very fast. This will result into a sour with a high acidity and also a salt taste cup of coffee. This won't be good, so you'll need to fix this problem by adjusting your grinder on a fine grind side so that you can achieve that sweet spot and create the perfect cup of coffee. If you come across the over-extracted coffee, this means you've grinded your coffee too much fine than the recommendable grind size of that brew method. This will prevent the water from extracting the right amount of flavors, and it will slow down the brew process. You will have a more time of brewing than the recommendable time of that brew method. So to fix this over extraction, you will need to adjust your grinder on the coarser grind size so that you can achieve the perfect cup of coffee. By following these simple steps, you can brew a perfect cup of coffee. But keep in mind, grind size is not the only key factors that determine your taste of coffee. You need also to have a good coffee recipe that you can follow step by step when brewing your cup of coffee. Check out some of my videos on how to brew some coffee brew methods. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time.